Okay, so first, you obviously you have your sketch, and then you make your finished line art, right? Okay. I already made this one a little while ago, so I'm just using it as an example because it's, easier that way. So what I like to do to render is first, you have your finished line art, and then I duplicate it so it looks like darker, bolder, like that. And then I go to transform it, and you're going to want to slightly move it around, slightly adjust it to whatever direction feels right. Sometimes you want to go a little up, a little down, left, right, whatever. Just really whatever visually looks appealing or whatever. I'm going to move mine a little bit to the right like this. And you see it's got like kind of like a blurry effect going on there. And then I adjust the layer, and I don't know what your program has. I don't know if it has these options, but I will click multiply because I really like how it deepens the red in my line art. Because I like to use I like to use red as my line art a lot, or pinks and things like that. And I just really enjoy how it has this deep red color to it. And then on that same layer that we multiplied, I take my blur tool, which I have it set really big, and I just go over the whole thing, that whole layer. And I really like how it adds this like softer yet like also like deeper look to it. And then that, if you just are doing line art and that's it, I would leave it here. But if you are wanting to, full color, okay, then I use this brush. It's called Glaze. And let's pick a color. I'll pick purple. I really like this brush because it can be really soft, and then you can add more pressure, make it darker, and go soft, and it's really nice. I like it. So if you have something like that, I totally recommend it, but also it's kind of a pain in the butt sometimes. But I really like how it looks. I feel like it pays off, at least for me. And then I'm gonna just like do some quick coloring. It's not gonna be like perfect or anything, but just like for the sake of like explaining, I'll go over with the glaze over the line art. I should add this is a layer above the line art rather than below, and I'll try to keep it even, try to keep it all an even nice color, because the fact that it can change intensity with how much pressure I'm using. Just try to keep it even. It's a little sloppy. Normally I do it better than this, but just trying to be quick. Okay. And then, normally I would also go through and like clean stuff up, make it look, in the lines, things like that. Clean it up, all that. But I don't think you want to watch all that. So then I will add a new layer, and I'll get a slightly smaller brush for the glaze. And then I'll pick red. I'll pick like a nice red, almost like pinkish, maroon, whatever that is. Because my line art is red, and so I really enjoy how it looks together. But adjust it to whatever your style is, right? And then I'll take that and I'll go over the darker areas. And again, normally not this sloppy, but go over it. Adding a little extra pressure, making it a little darker depending on the spot. And then, you just kind of do that for the whole piece, all the dark spots. And then, you know, sometimes I like to play around and, you know, I might use darken or multiply, but, you know, that also kind of just depends on, like, the vibes of the art piece. But I'm just going to go with normal for this one. And then above that, I like to add a lighter color. And for this, I'm going to choose this weird green color because I like funky colors. And I typically like to set it to like light, like soft light layer, if you have that available. And then do the same thing, you know, highlight areas where it would be brighter. And again, using the glaze brush, I kind of use that for all my coloring nowadays. And it's not like super intense, you know, it doesn't make a huge difference, but I can tell the difference, you know. And, you know, just add that in the lighter spots. You can even add it a little bit onto like the parts that have like the shadow if you want to lighten it up a little bit. And then I also like to, let's clear those out for a second. I also like to add a layer to add some kind of blush effect, you know, a little bit. I just feel like it adds a little bit more of like a fleshy, real feeling, I guess. And since this person, you know, they're like furry, you know, I still like to add it, just not as dramatically. So I'm gonna pick, I think for this one, I'm gonna pick this color. Maybe decrease the saturation, play with it a little. I think that's a good color. And then I'll go on the spots that I feel like, you know, I want to emphasize, especially if, like, let's say you're trying to do like kind of like a sexy artwork, right? You know, maybe emphasize on like the hand a little bit. You know, add a little there. You know, of course, the chest, you might want to add some. And again, I really like the glaze tool because I feel like it allows me to kind of blend stuff out a lot easier. You know, maybe you want to add some on the elbow, a little on the shoulder. You know, you add a little bit on the ass, you know. On the feet a little bit. And you can adjust like how intense you want it to be. I like to go for kind of more of a subtle effect. But it's totally up to you if you want to do more intense. This is just kind of how I do it. And I really like how it looks with the red eyeliner or whatever. And then bam bam. Now you've got all these different layers together. And again, it usually looks a lot cleaner, prettier than this. But this is just kind of, you know, me playing around with it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how I render. So I hope this was a little bit helpful. Yeah.